Namaste, everyone. Thank you for joining us for another session of Ayush Talks. So today's Ayush Talks will feature Dr. Paulo Meira. He is the professor of Ayurveda and Sanskrit at the University of Lisbon. He's also an Ayurvedic practitioner and offers consultations in Portugal. He completed a PhD in Sanskrit specializing in Ayurveda from the Tilak Maharashtra University, and he completed the Ayurvedic medicine course, later specializing in an Ayurvedic diet and nutrition. He is also a researcher of Ayurvedic plants and also of the Ayurveda in the Treatises of Garcia de Orta. He's the author of several articles and books and has been practicing yoga since 1999. So in this session, Dr. Meira will highlight the Aṣṭāṅgahṛdaya, an Ayurvedic treatise, to reveal some of its characteristics, doctrines, and knowledge. Dr. Meira, would you like to join the session?
Hello.
Namaste, Dr. Meira.
Namaste. Thank you for your introduction.
Thank you so much for joining Indica Yoga. So I'm going to hand over the session to you now, and I'll see all of you at the end when we open for questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Welcome everybody to this talk about the importance of Ayurvedic treatises. I'm very happy, in fact, to be with you all and speak about this topic, the sources of all the Ayurvedic knowledge. As you know, the Ayurveda is the ancient system of health, medicine, and lifestyle that was born in India. In nowadays, we listen lots of Ayurvedic terminology or doctrines like doctrines of doshas, abhyanga, panchakarma, and so on. But where do these concepts and doctrines came from? In fact, Ayurveda has all this material explaining in its sources. And the sources, in fact, are the Ayurvedic treatises. So we will speak in general way about the treatises like Charaka Samhita, Sushruta Samhita, Madhabanidana, Aṣṭāṅgahṛdaya, Bhava Prakasha, and we'll go deeply a little bit in Aṣṭāṅgahṛdaya. So, as everybody knows, Ayurveda has so many treatises, and some of them are not translated in English. In fact, the tradition divided all these treatises in two main groups. The first one is called Great Trilogy or Brihatrayi, and is composed by Charaka Samhita, Sushruta Samhita, Aṣṭāṅgahṛdaya. And the other group is called Minor Trilogy or Lesser Trilogy, and is composed by Madhabanidana, Aṣṭāṅgahṛdaya, Samhita, and Bhava Prakasha. But besides these six treatises, there is more and much more. And for example, I have here, sorry, I think you can't. This is one of them, Kashyapa Samhita, but we have also the Bhava Samhita, for example, Aṣṭāṅga Samgraha, Yoga Ratnakara, and much more. There is many treatises, like I said before, and all these treatises were written in Sanskrit. In fact, the Sanskrit is the language of Ayurveda. And in fact, to understand better this science, is important also to know a little bit of Sanskrit. And you have here the Charaka Samhita. This is the first one that I would like to explain. This is the oldest compilation that is available, and is known as the Ayurvedic treatise on internal medicine. And it was written by an Ayurvedic sage named Charaka, in 2nd century or before, 2nd century BC or before that. Originally, it was composed by Agnivesha, who compiled the teaching transmitted by his guru Punarvasu Atraya. This treatise, in fact, is like a dialogue between the disciple and his guru through a set of questions and answers. And it consists of prose mixed with verse and was divided into 8 sthanas or books or sections and 120 adhyaya or chapters. There is so many doctrines spoken in Charaka Samhita. For example, Charaka gives importance to the body and mind and says that they are both places of illness and are interlinked. For example, within the context of fever, Charaka says that heat is psychosomatic because it affects not only the body, but also the mind. And Charaka, for example, recognized the importance of natural immunity in preventing and curing diseases. That is a need in nowadays due to pandemics and other stuff. The next one is Sushruta Samhita. Sushruta Samhita, that it's in fact is the 2nd treatise on Ayurveda in terms of antiquity, and was written by the Ayurvedic sage Sushruta, more or less 2nd century BC. And it is divided into 6 sthanas, 6 books or sections, and 120 adhyayas, chapters, and contains both poetry and prose. And it describes a number of surgical operations, including rhinoplasty, phlebotomy, and many others. It also mentions the different surgical instruments, and it is the treatise that describes a method of dissecting a body, and it identifies in detail bones, muscles, veins. And because it shows advanced knowledge about anatomy and surgery, his author, Sushruta, is considered by many to be the father of anatomy and surgery. In fact, anatomy and surgery are the great specialty of this treatise. Next one is Madhava Nidana, the first one of that minor trilogy. And it was written by Madhava in 8th century AD. And the tradition considered it as the best one for Nidana, or means diagnosis. And it is the first one that is dedicated only to Nidana, only to diagnosis. In fact, has a great reputation as an authoritative text, not only in India, but even in other countries. It is, in fact, primarily a compilation of early treatises. I'm speaking about Charaka Samhita, Sushruta Samhita, Aṣṭāṅgahṛdaya, and others. And it is more than 70 chapters listing many diseases like fever, colitis, hemorrhoids, insanity, epilepsy, and so on and so on, along with their causes, symptoms, complications, and the description of the diseases is neither too elaborate nor too succinct. And the order of the sequence is considered as an ideal, and it was adopted by later authors like the Bhava Mishra of Bhava Prakasha that we will see a little bit after. So the next one is Aṣṭāṅgahṛdaya Samhita, the book, the Treatise of Formulations. It was composed in the first half of 13th century by Aṣṭāṅgahṛdaya, and has 3 sections, 32 chapters, and has more than 2,500 verses, and uses a lot of formulations using fresh juices, swarasa, decoction kata, infusions fanta, cold infusions hima, powders churna, pills gutica, etc. And is it the first Ayurvedic treatise that describes the Nadi Pariksha, or pulse examination. And the described recipes are simply and easy to prepare and most effective. The next one is the third of minor enterology, and is called Bhava Prakasha. It is a treatise on medicinal plants, and it was written by Meira in 16th century, and is a great bridge between the old treatises and new thinkings and applications, because in this century, in the 16th century, Europeans came to India and started to influence Indian culture and knowledge. And Bhava Meira, the author himself, wrote that the main purpose of this work is to compile the ideas of his predecessors, to give more light to Ayurveda, to remove some darkness in Ayurveda. And it is the first Ayurvedic treatise that describes syphilis, Piranga, and suggests some remedy for it, because syphilis came to India through the Portuguese and French in that time and spread it, forcing many patients to seek some medical assistance. And this text has more than 10,000 verses in 3 sections, 7 parts, and 80 chapters. For example, the chapter 6 of first section, known as Bhava Prakasha Nigan 2, is considered the great specialty of this treatise, because it gives a description of different groups of medicines and diet items, providing names, providing synonyms, names in different regions, properties, actions, tastes, etc., of medicines of all categories, like vegetables, animal, mineral origin, many spices, and so on. And finally, we have the Aṣṭāṅgahṛdaya. Aṣṭāṅgahṛdaya that you have here. This one is becoming old, and there is three volumes, and is considered the essence of Ayurveda. In fact, the great specialty of this treatise is the synthesis of Ayurvedic knowledge. It's like a summary of Charaka Samhita, Sushruta Samhita, some parts of works of other treatises like Bela Samhita, Rita Samhita, and some editions of the author. The name Aṣṭāṅgahṛdaya means the essence of 8 branches of Ayurveda, or eightfold essence. And it was written by Vagbhata in 7th century AD. It is composed of poetry, a sequential arrangement of hymns, and a clear description of precepts and the practice that form all the essence of Ayurvedic knowledge. It contains six sthanas, books or section, 120 Adhyaya chapters in a total of 7,120 shlokas or verses of 32 syllables. And it is the ideal one to be memorized. When I was doing my PhD in Pune, I was working on this treatise, and I needed to know a reference to a word in this treatise. I arrived at the clinic of a doctor. He was with the disciples, and I explained to him what I wanted. And he said, wait a minute, and closed his eyes. And I became surprised. And suddenly he got up from the chair and entered into a room and went to sleep. Then he came back and asked me again what I wanted. And I answered to him, and he started to close the eyes. And he began to give me the references for that word. For example, Samkhya, and he said, Samkhya is in book X, for example, chapter Y, and verse in another verse, and so on and so on and so on. And he gave me all that references. And in fact, I was through the text, and the words were there. It was like if you were sweeping the treatise from the beginning up to the end. And I was very surprised. But in fact, it is common to have this treatise by heart. Even in some BMSs of Ayurveda, it is included in curricula, and the memorization is mandatory. And even some cases of Ayurvedic doctors in south of India started to know it, and by heart in early age, in fact. And it is it has 6 sthanas, and the first section, Sutra Sthana, is considered superior to the Sutra Sthana of Charaka Samhita and Sutra Samhita. And even some consider these 30 chapters of the first section as the most important to the Ayurveda student to know. So in this first section, there is explained basic doctrines of Ayurveda, principles of health, disease prevention, properties of food and medicine, different types of diseases, and methods of treatment, etc. This is the first section. It's like a section of principles or fundamentals. The second one is called Sharira Sthana and deals with embryology, anatomy, physiology, physiognomy, physical and psychological constitution. So Sharira, it means body, section of the body. Another Sthana, the section of diagnosis, deals with causes, symptoms, pathogenesis, and prognosis of some major diseases. And Chikitsa Sthana, it is the section of treatment of major illnesses, including medicinal prescription, diet, and patient care. Capacity Sthana, like pharmacy, preparation of prescriptions, administration of purifying therapies, and principles of pharmacy is there. And Uttarasthana, the last one, it deals with pediatrics, psychiatry, treatment of diseases from throat, ears, eyes, mouth, head, even the rejuvenation therapies or anti-aging medicine, therapy for virility and for disease, and so on. 40 chapters for that. And you have here the treatise there is the normal appearance of this translation. When I say AHR, it means Aṣṭāṅgahṛdaya, and then SU, it means the first section, Sutrasthana. The first number 1 is the chapter, and the second number 1 is the verse. So I'm showing you the first verse of first chapter of the first section of Aṣṭāṅgahṛdaya. And I would like to show a little bit of Aṣṭāṅgahṛdaya. There is some PDF, and as I told you, there is the first section Sutrasthana, and there is it is the first time that the topics are arranged in a sequential order. And the first one is desire for long life. The second one is daily regimen. The third is seasonal regimen. The fourth is prevention of diseases. And the fifth is knowledge of liquid materials, and so on. I would like, and you can see this is normally these books have the Devanagari or the Sanskrit in the first part, and then there is the translation from translator, and sometimes there is some comments or notes, and you can see what it is shown in this Aṣṭāṅgahṛdaya. I will analyze some of these doctrines later with branches and so on. And there is, for example, the properties of treatises that we'll see after, the fixed tastes of Ayurveda, alleviation of notions by using the tastes, and so on. It is the first chapter, and then you can check the second. It is speaking about daily regimen, cleaning of the teeth, putting collyrium to the eyes, even doing abhyanga, oil massage and bath. And you can see lots of information. Here you can have, as I said before, the knowledge, the sense of Ayurvedic knowledge, because it is very in a systematic or synthetic way. For example, a seasonal regimen, the climate and what you can do in each in winter or in summer and so on. Prevention of diseases and not suppressing the natural urges, you can see. And knowledge about the liquid elements and about the water, the ghee, and takara, buttermilk, and so on. There is lots of descriptions. And for example, ghee is it ideal for improving intelligence, memory, and long life, and so on. There is lots of descriptions. There is lots of explanations about the honey. This is a big one. And then you have the solid material, solid food, and spices, vegetables, pulses, and you can see, and you can collect all this kind of information. And then, for example, the meat and the fish, all these are here. For each one, they provide the properties, the actions, transportation of food, and importance of substance, of each substance, virya, potência, vipaka, a classification of each taste. You can see all this kind of information in the Ayurvedic text about the doshas and the subtypes of doshas. That is all in this first section. The dhatus, the malas, dojas, all this kind of information is here, and so on. This is the first one, 30 chapters. And for example, and there is also in the end, is Sharira Sthana, in another section. The second one about the body. And we have here about the diseases. Wait a moment. Going to contents. Diagnosis of diseases in general, and fever, cough, bleeding diseases, alcoholic, hemorrhoids, diarrhea, diabetes, and so on, and therapeutics. And you have all these here. So for each disease there is they explain what of types of that kind of diseases, and then they give you
Hello, everyone. I think we've lost Dr. Meira. I'm just going to check what happened. Thank you for your patience. I've just messaged Dr. Meira, and I'm hoping he'll join us soon. So we just have to wait for a few minutes. I'm so sorry about this. Thank you. Namaste, Dr. Meira. We lost you for a few minutes.
Yes, sorry, it was my net issue.
It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
Glad to have you back. Thank you.
Thank you. So there is a lot of doctrines in here. So so if you can check some of these doctrines. For example, about the Ayurveda's origin. I was searching in Charaka Samhita, Sushruta Samhita, and Aṣṭāṅgahṛdaya about this topic. And what I found was the divine origin is common for the three treatises. And the treatises agreed about it, that the knowledge came from Brahma, who sent it to Director Prajapati, the Lord of Creature, and this one gave it to Ashvins or Ashvini Kumaras, the gods of medicine, and finally went to Indra. So when came from Indra to the human origin, the things becomes a little bit different, depending on the treatise. So in the red part, we have the vision of Charaka. In the yellow part is the vision of Sushruta, and the green part is the vision of Aṣṭāṅgahṛdaya. So Charaka says that the Bharadvaja, the sage Bharadvaja, went to Indra and received knowledge of him from him, and then passed to Punarvasuatraya, and who talked to 6 disciples: Agnivesha, Bela, Chatukarna, Prachara, Harita, and Ksharapani. Sushruta is saying that Dvantari received the knowledge from Indra and then taught 7 disciples: Apadaneva, Vaitarana, Arabra, and so on, and including Sushruta. And Aṣṭāṅgahṛdaya agrees with Charaka. And here I put it all the references. Where are they in these treatises? Another one, it's the branches of Ayurveda. So in this chart, we can see the 8 branches of Ayurveda according to the great trilogy, Charaka, Sushruta, and Aṣṭāṅgahṛdaya. Kaya, it means inner medicine, or knowledge of diseases. Urdhvanga, or diseases of the supraclavicular region, ENT, ear, nose, and throat. Shalya, or surgery, speaks about removal of external ailments in the body. Surgery, psychiatry, it's as you know, mental disorders. Pediatric, the problems that affect the children and the pregnant woman. Dhamstra, or toxicology and detoxification. Jara, or rejuvenation and anti-aging medicine. And virility, the therapy for virility. So, for example, in inner medicine, Charaka and Sushruta says that the name is Kaya Chikitsa, but Aṣṭāṅgahṛdaya says Kaya. In fact, means the same. For example, Charaka says that rejuvenation is called Rasayana, Sushruta says Rasayana Tantra, and Aṣṭāṅgahṛdaya Jara. Even in modern times, some schools are adopting the terminology of Charaka, the other of Sushruta, and some from Aṣṭāṅgahṛdaya. But in fact, the name means the same. And everybody already listen already knows about doshas. Doshas is a very common name. And Vata, Pitta, Kapha are the three doshas. Space and air combined form Vata. Fire and water combined form Pitta. And Kapha is composed by water and earth. So this is what is said in the sixth verse of first chapter of Sutrasthana of Aṣṭāṅgahṛdaya. Say that the doshas destroy the body when are in its abnormal state, and but maintain the body when are in normal state. Meaning what? Meaning that when they are in balance, one can achieve the health. But when they are in balance, one becomes sick. And they say that they are present throughout the body, and below the navel is Vata, is predominantly is occupied by Vata, and between the navel and the heart is Pitta, and above that area is Kapha. And I extracted some verses about the properties of these three doshas. For example, this is about the Vata, saying that Vata is ruksha or dry, is lagu or light, is cold or shita, rough or kara, subtle or sukshma, and has movement or chala. Tatra ruksho lagu shita kara sukshma chala nilaha. So this is the properties of Vata explained in this verse, and Pitta, saying that Pitta is a snare or slightly anxious, Tikshna sharp, Ushna hot, Lagu light, Visra strong bad odor, Sara flowing in the liquid, or Pittam sasne Tikshnoshnam Lagu Vishram Sram Dravam. So this is the properties of Pitta that are explained in Aṣṭāṅgahṛdaya, and about Kapha or Kapha, in fact in Sanskrit is Kapha, not Fa. Kapha is Snigdha, anxious, Shita, cold, Guru, heavy, Manda, slow in action, Shrakshna, smooth, Murtisna, slimy, and Stira, stable or firmness. So Snigdha, Shito, Guru, Manda, Shrakshno, Murtisna, Stira, Kapha. So it's the properties of Kapha. And of course, there is so many doctrines that 1 hour is not enough, not at all. But you can have some idea what this kind of treatises can explain to us. In fact, I think it's very important to one who wants to know Ayurveda in a real and authentic way, try to understand what the Ayurvedic sages wrote and explained it. And for that is a need to access the knowledge from Ayurvedic treatises, because they contains all these kind of sources of knowledge, but without filters. So the concepts, the doctrines are explained here. For example, the Ayurvedic terminology has a wide scope that is difficult to translate in another language. For example, Vata or Pitta is not possible to translate in one word to another language like English or Portuguese. And you can access to all this knowledge from the source. So you can drink from the source and have a better knowledge just reading all these treatises, all this kind of information. And when you become to do like that, your link with this science becomes more strong, more harmonious. And of course, if you understand a little bit of Sanskrit, it helps, can help a lot, in fact. And imagine that you are doing research in any topic. You can find your answers in these treatises and get the real Ayurvedic point of view. Because, and believe in me, we will not find that answers in the Ayurvedic bestsellers. So I'm leaving here some references about the treatises that are composing the Great Trilogy and Minor Trilogy. There is lots of translations, or some translations from Sanskrit to another languages like English and Marathi and Gujarati and so on. There is some references, and I'm open to the questions. Thank you very much.
Namaste, everyone. Can we stop? Before you stop screen sharing, just everyone, if you would like to get in touch with Dr. Meira, is that all of his details are there, his Facebook account, Instagram account, and also his Gmail address. Am I right?
Yes, it is right.
Great. So if you can please just take all of those details from there. Plus, can we also just put the details in the chat box, Dr. Meira, please, and then I'll share it with everyone. Just your, okay, that would be wonderful. Thank you.
Let me check if it is works or not.
And also just to remind everyone, these sessions are recorded. So if you want to come back and revisit all the lovely information that Dr. Meira shared with us today, you can do so. The recording will be available on the Indica Yoga website, on the Center for Ayurveda Studies website, our social media channels, as well as our YouTube channel. So I'm just going to share. Yeah, I've put all of Dr. Meira's details in the chat to everyone, so you can access that from there. We're open for questions now, but so far I don't see any questions. That's okay. If you guys think of questions later, that happens sometimes, you can always email us at Indica Yoga and we can forward your questions to Dr. Meira, or his details are here. So you can, get in touch with him directly as well. Can we stop screen sharing, Dr. Meira, so we can see you?
Yes.
Thank you so much. Yeah, so I don't know, we don't have any questions yet, but before we sign out, thank you so much for that in-depth presentation. There was so much knowledge in that presentation. I think it's going to take time for all of us to retain that knowledge, but for someone to make the effort, this is clearly your path. And it was just there's so much information. I really enjoyed it, and I learned a lot from today's talk, and I hope our participants liked it as much as I did. So yeah, before we leave, is there any kind of advice you'd like to give us before we sign out, or a message you'd like to leave us with?
Yeah, so what I think is, in fact, in Ayurveda, I think it's very, very important to go to the sources again, to get the more knowledge as you can, and go deeply, and to do a better job in Ayurveda.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that's great advice, actually, even for people who are practicing, who want to make a career out of this. So thank you again, Dr. Meira, for joining us all the way from Portugal. Thank you so much. And I'm so sorry, I think we have a question. Oh, it's just Natalia saying congratulations. Thank you so much for joining us, Natalia. Thank you everyone for watching, and I'll see you again next week for another Yoga Insights and Ayush Talks. Namaste.
Namaste.